So I thought I'd just combine a bit of a chit chat, because you know I do love a chat, with some plant care and general bits and pieces. Not all about plants. I might be potting a plant and talking about, I don't know, marriage or something. Who knows? Who knows what I'm going to dream up? So let's see what's cooking. Right, well, for a start, this plant here I will be repotting, totally pot bound. I would imagine that would just pop off. Oh yeah, look at that. Anyway, looks nice and healthy, mind. So I'm going to repot that and maybe sort of, water some of my other plants and talk about a bit of this and a bit of that. So I'll just move that a second. Let's see what's cooking. So what I did was, that one, so I'm going to repot in a minute. I brought some soil in, so I've just let it warm up a little bit. Whoopsie daisy. I'll let it warm up a bit, that soil. And I might even give it a spray. Meanwhile, look at Big Boy. Look at that. Isn't that beauty? So I'm going to dry him. And he's too heavy to hang with my other ones. So I'll start a new drying collection. Keep it in the kitchen, get it dry. I hope there's nothing in that shouldn't be in that. Don't know. I might have to spray that, actually. Never know what you're bringing in, do you? I'll give it a spray. Let's give it a spray. Just a little light spray, just in case. Anyway, so one of the things, I know it's plants, and I said I wasn't going to do all about plants, and I'm not. But what I've done is, I've brought in some more hollyhocks that were, a bit of a blot on the landscape, shall we say. They were sticking up, Anyway, so I know the brown ones, the seed, they're a bit wet as well. I know the brown ones are fine, but there's some very green pods, seed pods. I'm just going to open one and I'll let you know. No, you see, they're going brown. They're going brown, but they're white. Some of them are brown. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to dry those as well. I'm going to hang those up and see if they continue maturing. It's okay if they don't, because I've got a lot of hollyhock seeds. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hang them up. And I'll let you know what happens. Because, they were getting on my nerves. So that's the hollyhock seeds. So anyway, what I thought, oh look, yeah, there's loads there. Anyway, so I'll get a coffee as well, because I always chat better when I've got a coffee. So let me get a coffee. And then, also, if there's anything that you want me to talk about, you can let me know in the comments. I know a few of you have said when I first moved here, and I think I've more or less covered that in a previous video, talking about that and when I first moved in and all the rest of it. The garden has changed so much. I've been looking through old photos, old footage, video footage and stuff, and honestly, the garden has changed so much, it's unbelievable. But let me get a coffee. That's all right. Anyway, how are you all? Like I said, I'm looking out there now. It's absolutely gorgeous. If I go out there to chat to you, guess what? It'll rain. So I set up in the kitchen instead. I like being in the greenhouse, It's not a very big greenhouse. And, there's not a lot of room for filming, but I still like being in there. Oh, let's do that. Oh, look at that now. Now what I do with my plants, oh, I wash my hands. Let's get this out of the way because the soil, I hope it's not gone in my coffee. Hope not. Anyway, bit of soil won't hurt me, will it? Lovely, jubbly. Right, now, this is the Dracaena marginata plant. I do like these, actually. Anyway, what I was thinking about, let me pot and chat, okay? So what, have you ever, I've been thinking about this the other day. You know when you're young, and very stupid, yeah? We've all been there. Everybody has been there. Think young lads are like, used to be young lads that are young and stupid. And when I say young, I mean from the age of 2 to about 40. But anyway, that's rude, isn't it? And I'm rude. But anyway, but it's true, and I don't mean it in a horrible way. It is absolutely true. They're stupid. I mean, even my husband, he's always saying, "Oh my God, I was stupid." The things they do. I mean, like for instance, he did something similar in the science lab at school. In America, he did something stupid, nearly blew the lab up. But what my son did in my utility room, which at one of the houses that we lived in, it was a barn. It was an old barn, and that's that. And then I'll show you what I do with all my plants when I repot them. So I'll take them off. Anyway, so we lived in this old barn years and years ago. He was still at college, school, sixth form. I think he was in, or just gone to college, and him and his friend. I wasn't at home, and we had this outdoor. We had this gorgeous setup. We had a stable block, which we didn't use because we didn't have horses. We had a few acres, but we did have some bullocks. We had some beef, and just a little bit, and we had a goat as well. And so, apart from the house, right next to the stable block was this lovely room that I had as my utility room. And we had a freezer, a big chest freezer in it, and washer and dryer and counters and everything. And we had this brand new chest freezer, and the lid on it was like it had like a plastic, you know what they're like, don't you, on freezers. It wasn't metal, in other words. And anyway, him and his friend were very stupidly trying to make stink bombs, and something exploded. They're lucky that they didn't get blinded. Anyway, the thing exploded onto my brand new freezer, chest freezer, and burnt a big hole in the plastic top. Yeah, so that's what I mean, But the lads aren't, exclusively stupid, because the girls are, especially nowadays, I would say when I was a young girl, they weren't as stupid, but they were still stupid. We were still stupid. And I'll tell you what I did. One night, I was told not to. I was sneaking home late, let's put it that way. And Mum and Dad were in bed. Everybody was in bed. And I should have been home ages ago, but I wasn't. And I got off the bus, and it was quite late. And I was walking down the road and it was all quiet and dark and there was nobody about at all. I was walking down this street and to cut off down this sort of alleyway to the backs of the houses. It was a row of houses and it had a back alley, a road really, and you could take your car down to the back of your house. And most people, they could drive it into the back of the house, you know, the car. So I'm walking down and I hear footsteps behind me. And I immediately felt quite panicked. And I started walking a bit faster and the footsteps gained, you know, speed as well. And I didn't look round. I didn't dare look round. So I'm walking down and I knew I had to cut off into an even lonelier back alley, you know, alleyway at the backs of the houses. I knew that. And so anyway, so I just decided to take off running. So I took off running and the steps behind me, I could hear running, but I weaved in and out. I knew all the houses and things and all the roads in that little roads that went off. And I weaved in and out of that back alley and I weaved through somebody's, I knew all the people, of course, so I knew exactly the layout of the gardens where the car was and everything. I knew all that. So I nipped into the back of this house, which was at one end of the row, and I was way over the other end. I went and nipped through and lost this person who was chasing me, who was, you know, chasing me really, and got to the front of the houses and ran like hell down to my house and got in and everything was fine. But I vowed I'll never do that again. Never, you know, be walking somewhere lonely. And my sister in South Wales, she wasn't that long ago actually. She was into cycling and she used to go on all these lonely roads and lanes and things. No houses, no nothing. And she had a funny experience. Anyway, it was just this guy in a van and he kept stopping, you know, and then he'd speed up and get to her and she'd be speeding, you know, travelling like as fast as she could on this bike, and he kept stopping and then he'd stop and then he'd let her get a little bit further. Anyway, it came to nothing, but you know, it's that kind of thing that is stupid. You do these things when you're young usually, you know. And another thing, what was I thinking about then? Oh yeah, another stupid thing I did. I went on this trip with these friends. All, I don't know what we were, 13 maybe. And we went up to Rivington Pike and everybody did that, you know, everybody did it. And I can't remember whether it was, I can't remember what date everybody goes up there, but there is a date, you know, like at Easter or something. And I had this can of Coke and no way of opening this because it didn't have the ring pull. And you had to, you know, you had to open it with a can opener, so a bottle opener. Didn't have a bottle opener. So somebody had a penknife. So got the penknife and I stabbed the top of the can of Coke and the knife came off and went straight through my hand. Straight through. And I had to get on a bus, I had to walk about a mile home and everything. And we lived in a shop. Mum and Dad had a shop, and it was what they call in those days a draper's shop. And drapery was, you know, it'd be a clothes shop now, wouldn't it? and she sold children's clothes, baby clothes, men's shirts. She sold all sorts of things. Hang on, I'll come back in. So my husband came in and took me off track on my story. But what I was getting to is that I had to get the bus back and I had to walk quite a long distance. When I got to the shop where we lived above the shop and behind it. And when I got there, my mother wasn't there. And I grabbed I don't know what I did before then, but when I got to the shop, she sold these babies' nappies, the towel in squares, the old-fashioned nappies. And she sold packs of those, and baby clothes and all sorts, bras and nighties and sheets and towels and all sorts. But anyway, grabbed this packet of baby nappies and I got one and wrapped it all around my hand and walked down to where mother was at her friend's. She'd gone to visit somebody down the road, and that was about half a mile. So I walked down there, and by the time I got there, the nappy, the square nappy, was completely red with blood. So she took one look at it and she said, "Oh no, you need stitches." So she took me to the hospital in the car, and I got stitches because it had gone straight through. So I had to have stitches there on that side and then stitches there as well. So that was that. That's another example of extreme stupidity. But there are others as well, I'm sure. Okay, where was I now? Let's start by, well, first of all, I'll get back to the stories in a minute. But when I do my plant care, sorry that's in the way a little bit, I'm going to move it in a minute. But when I do my plant care, I get bay leaves and I get rosemary, and I chop them into little pieces and lay them on top. And they deter, because they've got aromatic oils in both plants, they deter insects and things. So so I just chop them into small bits. And when I do my plant care, like my watering, what I tend to do with that is that I get all the plants. I've got all the plants together here in the kitchen. I've got a few plants dotted around, but these are the main ones. And what I'll do is I'll get them all out on this counter. Well, 2 or 3 at a time. And take them out and check them and everything. Yeah, so what I do is I get 2 or 3 plants out and let them sit in a bowl and check them and take any dead leaves off and, just general. And then I will put them in a bowl of water and plant food, usually, to soak up what they need. I leave them for, 20 minutes or so. Let them soak up what they need and then put them back in the pots, wherever they came from. There's probably all bits of plant in that coffee now. Like, I got it in my hair, and I often go shopping and touch my head like that and pull out a big twig, about 5 inches long out my hair. I've been walking around the shops like that. People must wonder what on earth I'm doing. When I'm scavenging around in the bushes and things. Anyway, back to this. So that's the plant care. So this plant has been attended to. It's got all new soil anyway. And I'm going to put it back into this white ceramic. Right. So that's what I do with my plant care. And these little beauties are going to be hung up to dry, and we'll see. Oops. They're all going to be hung up to dry, and we're going to see if they carry on maturing to be nice and brown and stuff. And that can go in my compost. Put all these in the compost. Anyway, so there we are. So that's that little bit of plant care. Not a lot, but let me get. No, I can leave that there actually. I'll leave that there. It helps to keep things a little bit cleaner, doesn't it? Now this is totally stupid. So I went to my senior school was a girls' school, just for girls, and nobody ever did anything that I never knew anyone to do anything untoward, anything wrong, being rude to the teachers, or everybody conformed, and it was lovely. Lovely school it was. But anyway, I had a friend who was same way as me, a bit naughty. It's the only thing I ever did at school, ever. But anyway, so we had the two of us, she was called Jan, and the two of us, we were naughty. And we told everybody that we could do these things, like levitate people and stuff like that. I know, totally bonkers, but it's true. Absolutely true. I only tell true stories, by the way. All my stories. I'm not into, stories, even the legends and the places, like I've done videos about the Bucket of Blood pub. It's all legend that is, purported to be true. Anyway, I don't just make stuff up. But anyway, so this is back to school. So we're going back to school. I don't know how old I'd be, about maybe 13 or 12, 13. But anyway, so Jan and I told everybody that we could levitate people, and we had special powers, psychic powers and special powers. And we got this one girl, and she was called Maureen Gill. I wish I could contact these people, I've tried to find her. And Linda Gobin and Linda Isherwood. I tried to find all these people. So if anybody out there knows these people that lived in West Horton in Lancashire many, many moons ago, if any of you know them, let me know. I'd love to contact them. Linda Gobin, that's Gobin, I think, and Linda Isherwood. Anyway, and this one, I'm Maureen Gill. And this Maureen Gill, I think she was a farmer's daughter. Anyway, so we decided that we were going to levitate Maureen Gill. So we had her lying on the bench in the classroom and all the rest of it. And she totally freaked out. And she was all scared and everything. And so when she went home, she told her mother what had been happening. And the mother contacted the school headmistress. Now, the school headmistress was called Miss Elliot, and she was small, small all over, and very short. And she had steel grey hair, long, tied in a bun. And to me, she was probably, then I thought she was about, 60 or 70. She's probably only about 40. But anyway, so Miss Elliot hauled us into her office, Jan and I, and one other one. I don't know who that was. Another one. And and we had to sit cross-legged on the floor in front of her desk. Can you imagine? Three of us. I don't know who the other person was, but anyway, there was Jan and I and this other person, and sat there. Well, I just found it totally hilarious. And have you ever not been able to stop laughing when you should? You know, you should stop laughing. And the more you know you should stop, and the worse it is. Right, that is nice plant. I've checked it over. It's not pot bound. It's healthy. It's gorgeous, and it's going back in there. Oh, better get rid of that a minute. Well, actually, that can go back. It's not old. It's just a drop, and it's damp. It's been watered recently, so it doesn't need anything. So that's one plant taken care of. I'll put it here, I think. See if it likes it there. It might do. So healthy. Anyway, yeah, so that was the tale of Maureen Gill. Just couldn't stop laughing. And it was the only time that I really wanted to stop laughing as well. But it's the only time that, I got into trouble at school. I love school. I love junior school. I love senior school. I loved everything about it. And yeah, so have you got any stories when you were young and stupid? I've got a lot more, but I think I'll finish up the video there and then I can get it on today. But if you want me to talk about any more young and stupid days of old, I'm your girl, I can tell you. Anyway, so this is the next plant that I'm gonna. Did I tell you I've got this? I'm gonna chop some stuff up. This is nice and damp because I brought it down from the greenhouse. I thought I'd like it in here. So healthy and nice. So I'll stick some of these on. I'll just chop them up here and then I'll put them on. Yeah, if you've got any stories about yourself, or if you would like some more stupid stories, then we can do that. So there we are. There's another plant, rosemary and bay leaves, fresh. They're full of aromatic oils. And I put that on top of they don't look bad. They look quite nice actually. But if you did have a problem with the look of that on top of your plant, just put either some nice pebbles, tiny, like what they call it, the pea shingle. That's nice. I love that. On top, or vermiculite or something, but I leave it like that. And then when I do the plant care, I will scrape this off because it be dry and, really dry and lost its potent aromatic oils. So there we are. Well, I hope you enjoyed the chat. I did. I like a chat, and I love chatting to you anyway. So there we are. So I'll see you next time. Meanwhile, sending loads of love from the land of mist and legend. See you next time.